welcome to my channel. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. We are currently working in C#, but everything we do here can be done in Java, Python, and virtually any programming language, as you soon discover. Let's take a look at the checkbox control. Checkboxes, like the radio buttons, give us programmers a chance to move the decision process to the user visibly. What I mean by that is they give us a chance to display choices to the user. As you can see, checkboxes allow users to select many choices from a group of possible choices. In fact, the user can select them all. When a user clicks on a checkbox, it either selects or deselects depending upon how it was set. If it was checked, it becomes unchecked, and vice versa. Checkbox controls can be used independently, just one, for giving the user an option such as yes, no, or true and false. In general, however, when you set up a program with checkboxes, you typically place them inside a group box tool or a panel, just as you would the radio buttons. Let's take a look at how this is done. Let's take a look at the checkbox. It's almost the same as a radio button with one significant difference, and that is that you can check as many items as you want. The radio button, you're only checking one, and that's all that will appear. If you check a different one, all the other ones will go blank. In the checkbox, you could use it to check a whole bunch of items. Think of a pizza. If you want a pizza, you order one. You might want a checkbox for your menu that's going to ask for pepperoni, extra cheese, mushrooms, onions, whatever. You can actually make those in the checkbox and actually have that happen. Let's put that together and see what we can do. So I'm going to go ahead again. Once again, I'm going to go into the group box again, and we'll put this on the screen. Here's our group box. We'll bring it in the middle like this. And we'll add a couple checkboxes. They're sitting over here, right in this thing, checkbox right here. Instead of radio button, which is down here, we got the checkbox in alphabetical order. We'll click on that, and it sits right here. We've got ourselves a checkbox button. I'm going to go ahead and group everything and change the font right away, so we're looking at a larger font. I'll make it bold, and we'll make it 10. And there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy a couple of these. And I'm just going to do a copy V, make 4 of these things down here and pop them in place. Then I'm going to go ahead and align them so they look nice. It's always a good idea to align your elements so that they look fine. So the vertical space is going to become making equal. It looks good. We're going to center it on the form, which is really centering it into the group box. And we'll center it vertically, and it looks about right. And we can even center it horizontally. That'll put it in the middle of the group box like this. And we're going to call this thing, we're going to take our group box control, and we're going to go ahead and say pizza toppings. And we'll give it a name. We're not going to use this in code, but if we were going to use it for turn it invisible or visible or whatever we want to call it something. So I'll say group box is GBX. Group box pizza toppings. Now I could actually turn that on or off if I wanted to. What I'm going to do is take this guy right here, and I'm going to that's something you can actually see too. If I move my group box any place, all of the checkboxes come with it. This is true with radio buttons as well. They'll pop in there. And I'm going to create a list box on the side here, because we're going to use the list box, which you looked at a couple weeks ago. And we're going to add items to the list box as we do this kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and add a list box. And we'll put it over here. And we'll call this list box LBX or LST. List box, list LBX order. So that'll be our order that we're actually going through in this process. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this kind of thing. So I'm going to show you a couple ways again. We're going to create the button once again, as we did the radio button, and put it down here. And we'll make it the same size as this particular thing here. And I'm going to call this the button do it again. So it'll be button do it, BTN do it. And that's exactly what we'll say on our button up on top. It'll be do it. And then these radio buttons are right here. These checkbox buttons are going to be something different. We're going to call this first one pepperoni. Not sure if you have 2 P's or 1. I think it's just 1 P, pepperoni. No, it is 2 P's. This one's going to be olives. This one's going to be extra cheese. And this one can be, sausage. And we could actually add more if we wanted to for pizzas. I want to actually give them a name now in code so I can refer to them in code. So I'm going to go up into the name area and say, checkbox I call CBX for checkbox. And I'll call this one pepperoni. This one will be CBX olives. This one will be CBX extra cheese. And this one will be CBX sausage. So now I can refer to all these guys and get to them. I got LBX order. I got this thing named, named this kind of stuff. So everything's looking pretty good here. Now, there's a couple ways I can do this. When you look, I'm going to run this. Let's just go ahead and save this real quick just so you get an idea of what we've got here. Nothing's going to happen at this point in time, except I will be able to check on checkboxes. So if we look at this, I can actually check the pepperoni, check the olives, check the sausage, extra cheese. I can uncheck them as well. So that's all very possible as well. Nothing's happening though. But if I check these things and I created a button, do it down here to look at this, we could pepper the list box here with the orders we actually have taken in place. So panels and or group boxes make great containers for checkboxes. Now, though checkboxes allow the user to make selections, we as programmers still need to determine which checkboxes are checked and then take action based on that. The code shown here does just that. You interrogate the check property of the checkbox control. If it is checked, you take some action. If it is not checked, you can take a different action. Let's see how this plays out. I'm going to create this this button right here. Create a click event on it. It's sitting right here. And I'm going to say that, once again, a set of if statements. If CBX checkbox extra cheese is checked, that's fine. Then we're going to say our list box, LBX list box order dot items dot add and we can put in there extra cheese and pop a semicolon on the back of this thing, and that's been done. So that's one if statement we've done. And we're going to do now is another if statement. So we're going to actually go through these if statements and let each one of these things run. And they all can be true, you know, if they're checked. So what I'm doing there is if it's checked, we're going to say now if what's the other one? We got CBX, we got olives. So one thing I like about Hungarian notation is it will go through and help you do this. LBX order dot items dot add, and we're going to pop in olives, and we'll pop down here and we'll look at if CBX. Next one is pepperoni. We'll just drop down and hit the dot checked. Oops, checked, and that will allow us to create a routine. LBX order dot items dot add, and this will be pepperoni. And put that in place. And whoops, I don't need that. And one more is going to be the last one we actually had on here, and that's if CBX, whoa, what's going on here? CBX, there it is, sausage, dot checked. And this will be LBX order dot items dot add, and it will be sausage. And put that in place. And that is all we need to write for the code for our do it button. So let's go ahead and save this. And we'll check to see how this thing works. We'll run it. Now the functionality of the checkbox, if I hit do it right now, nothing appears, so nothing actually happened here. If I just put pepperoni in there and hit do it, pepperoni shows up over here. If I hit olives and extra cheese and sausage, they all pop up. Now it's going to go ahead and it's going to add things. I have nothing to clear this text box off completely, so it's there. If I take off a couple and I'm just looking at sausage again, sausage will repeat in there, and I can do sausage many times I want. It's simply going to add to the bottom. I could put a clear in here, and that might not be a bad idea. Let's go ahead and do when we do this button here, let's go ahead and say that LBX order dot items dot clear. We'll just clear it like that, and actually put a comment in here. Clear list box. So now I'm clearing the list box, and we're doing a run. We'll do a save, and we'll do a run. And now when I click on a couple of these things, we'll just do 3. There they are. We'll just take this off. It's at pepperoni only, and it'll click just pepperoni. We want to click olives and not pepperoni. We can do this. That's all it takes. In our example, we used an if-else-if structure. Virtually any decision structure can be used to interrogate the check status of a checkbox. But there is another way of interrogating the check status of a checkbox control. Rather than a button, we can do it whenever the checked status of the button changes. Anytime a checkbox control's check property changes, a check change event is raised. Just like a click event, we can write code in this event. And we will write that code for every checkbox that needs checking. Here's how it's done. So I can go into my code, and I can literally pop into the form and double click on the pepperoni. And we'll end up getting a checkbox check changed event here. So that means the pepperoni either is being turned off or it's being turned on. With that, I can once again take all this code and pop it into here. And that means I can also go in here and create an event for the olives. And again, I can go into the event and put one in for the extra cheese. And I can jump up and do one for sausage. And now what I can do is I can save it. And start it. And what's going to happen now, I don't need the do it button anymore. I can simply use the pepperoni button right up here. Let's move this to the center. And if I click on pepperoni, it runs that process and actually does a check change and does the access. If I turn it off, I get nothing. It turns it off completely. Now put pepperoni back on there, and now let's add the olives. Look at that. Olives and pepperoni pop up. Add the extra cheese. We get extra cheese, olives, and pepperoni. And I can do all 4. I can turn one off. Turn this one off, and it brings it down. Just the ones are checked. So my routine is covering all bases here, and it's checking all of them as I go through this process. And again, once you've learned methods, you can, let's get out of here and let's go ahead and, once you've learned methods, you can actually take this code and create a method for it and then just call it. And all you need is one line inside this check change event to make the same thing happen. It won't have all this code sitting in there. But for now, this works well and shows you how the check change event works. Very similar to radio button, except you can have everything checked. It allows the user to pick a bunch of things from a list and pop them into where we're happy to be using it. Think, anything you want. You can pop this into a database. You can list it, labels, whatever you want to do. This is going to happen. Whatever you code inside this particular check change event will happen. That's all there is to it. Very easy to use a check change event and to use the checkboxes as far as radio buttons. You'll often see programs using both the radio button and the checkbox for different functions, what you might need. And the beauty of it is you can put this inside the group box where we're seeing this, or you can pop it into a panel, again, like we do with radio buttons, and all of it disappears. Pretty cool, right? The button really isn't needed. Well, that will depend on your program. Could be a button is a better choice for some applications, but this shows you that both ways are very effective in checking the status of a button. Now, we've seen all this with the group box being in the container. I had mentioned panels earlier. Here's what that looks like. Pop a panel on here. Let's move our list box off. Let's move it down here to this area. Let's make it smaller. We don't need a giant list box. And let's go ahead and create a panel. Here's our panel. We'll bring our panel up here. We'll make it the same size as the group box. And then we'll take our checkboxes here, make copies of them, doing Control-C, do a Control-V in here, and we end up, they didn't font for us very nicely, but that's okay. They're there. Maybe I can do that. I can certainly change their font by grouping them all. I think we made them 10 if I'm not mistaken. We made it bold and 10. And that's looking good. Now it's all set. Now we can actually do a save on here. And start. And here's our form running. These guys still work nicely, as you can see. And these work too, except we didn't code anything here, but they function the same way. And as a group, you don't see the panel around them, but they are sitting out here nicely. They have no title on top, but that's okay. In some cases, you may need something like that. They still can be moved about as a group, because once you have them in the panel like this, you can easily take this panel and move it elsewhere, and it'll be fine. You can also take this panel, which doesn't have a name. We'll give it a name. We'll call it PNL Pizza, and then we'll turn it invisible. And we'll set up our Do It button. We'll go into the code on the Do It button, and the first thing we'll do is we'll turn that panel on. PNL Pizza dot visible is equal to true. And save it. Run it. Panel's invisible. Just by making the panel invisible, it's not there. By clicking the Do It button, it appears. The entire panel shows up, and then you have the activity of your buttons can be used at that point in time. So that's one of the things you can do with panels and group boxes, things of that nature. You can turn them off and on. Helps you kind of save real estate on your form. You don't have to show things that aren't being needed at a certain time, and go from there. That's it. That's all it takes. It's kind of a cool thing to work with checkboxes and radio buttons. So adding checkbox controls to a panel is no different than adding them to a group box. Functionality is the same. The look is just slightly different. Again, you will choose what you choose will really depend on your application. For now, what you need to take out of this video is checkboxes allow users to select many choices from several possible choices. A Boolean check property tells us if the control has been selected. If statements allow us to interrogate the check property. Check change events can be raised when a user selects or deselects a checkbox. See you next time. Thanks for watching. If you get a chance, please subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.